George, let me begin by thanking you very much for agreeing to speak to the students on the course of US-China relations, past, present, and future. I have no doubt that your insights will add a lot to the course. So what we'll do in today's discussion is discuss the lessons that the students studied in week one, especially about the historical dimensions of the US-China relationship. And I'm going to begin by asking you some questions about the century of humiliation that China suffered, because I believe it had some impact on Chinese attitudes to the world. So let me begin by noting that at the end of the 18th century, China had enjoyed decades of peace and stability under the Qianlong Emperor, 1735 to 1796. He stepped down in 1796. In less than 50 years, China was humiliated. So the question in my mind is, have the Chinese historians analyzed what happened? What reasons do they give for the dramatic weakening of China relative to the West? And why did China fall behind? So what's your views on that?
The story of the decline of the Qing dynasty is as complex, as multifaceted as what Gibbons wrote about the decline and fall of Rome. It's a long story. And interestingly, that history, that official history, is just now being compiled in China.
Just now?
China has a tradition of writing official histories.
Yes.
There have been 24, the last being the history of the Ming dynasty. The history of the Qing from 1648 to 1911 is just now being written. The project, I think, was launched year 2003 or something. I remember former Vice Premier Li Lanqing telling us about it. It has got more material than all the previous dynasties combined. And initially, they talked about 99 volumes. Last I heard, it will be at least 250 volumes. And the more they go into it, the bigger the story. The history of humiliation in the 19th century,
yes,
of course, has its origins before that. Qianlong, de facto, Qianlong reigned longer than his grandfather Kangxi. But out of deference to the Kangxi emperor, he stepped down and handed power over to the Jia-Qing emperor. But he continued to wield power behind the scene for many more years. But by that time, the Qing dynasty was very corrupt. And when you're corrupt, the rot is within. And then when foreign challenges come, you can't cope. And really, while we talk about foreign impingement on China, not just Western, but also the Russian from the north,
yes,
and then later Japan,
yes,
through Korea. China went through a period of terrible internal discord. I mean, the Taiping Rebellion, the Muslim Rebellion in the West, those took a horrendous number of Chinese lives. Tens of millions died in those terrible civil wars. And it was because China was internally weak that it succumbed to external challenges. And this is increasingly how they see themselves now. I'm told that if you go to the Russian-Chinese border, the museum to the Treaty of Aigun, which saw all that land north of the Amur and east of the Ussuri being handed over to Tsarist Russia. He ended by saying, when you are weak, things happen. And indeed, if you look at the opioid crisis in China, yes, the British sold the opium, and it was despicable. But why were they so receptive to opium? I mean, it's like today in America, I mean, you can blame the Mexicans and the Colombians for drugs, but why is there such a huge market? So the reflection about the 19th century, the humiliation, will be completely incomplete without a deep understanding of the internal rot in China, which began during the Qianlong period.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Japan because, Ezra Vogel is a friend of ours, the Harvard scholar. He has said that for centuries, China, with its great civilization and navies, always had the upper hand vis-a-vis Japan. What's interesting is that when Japan woke up to the Western challenge in the Meiji Restoration and reformed itself and became stronger, China didn't seem to pay attention to what Japan was doing, and then of course was humiliated by Japan in the 1895 Sino-Japanese War. Looking back at that time, why didn't you think the Chinese paid any attention to what, like someone like Japan, when Japan was transforming itself? Did the Chinese say, "Hey, we should also transform ourselves"? Was that kind of movement budding in China in the 19th century?
Before that period, back to the mist of time, Japan did not play a major role in the evolution of Chinese history and civilization, much less than Korea did. So it's perhaps not surprising that China never saw Japan as being particularly consequential. If there were descriptions about Japan, it was that they are an unusually clean people, which was something mentioned in the history of the Northern Way.
Yeah.
This like 4th century, 5th century. Or maybe before that, maybe 3rd century. I'm not so sure of my dates now.
Yeah.
Then the Japanese were raided the China coast, and they were fearsome, Japanese pirates. Of course, Kublai Khan tried to invade Japan, but got defeated by typhoons, and that's how the kamikaze became such an important term in the Japanese psyche. But then Kublai Khan moved in all directions, including Java and Indochina and so on. But I would say in Chinese history, Japan wasn't that important. And Japan went in, but the way Japan saw China and the importance of its decline, now that is an important part of the story. They could see the Western powers moving in, and that would eventually be their fate. So we all know about how Commodore Perry forced Japan open. The US was at the time full of its sense of manifest destiny. I think it was 1854. They were shocked. Gunboats opened up Japan. So from 1854 to 1868, the Meiji Restoration, which you talked about, they were determined not to suffer China's fate. By 1860-61, any Japanese ship landing on the China coast would be inspected by a Western custom officer, usually British, who would collect the revenues, took what they felt were their share, and the rest they gave to the Qing administration. So they saw all that, and they knew it would come to them unless they transformed themselves top to bottom, and unless they themselves became a colonizing power. And they could see their greatest fear was the Russians coming down. The Tsars had been moving towards the Pacific. The Qing prevented it, Qings. In the end, Tsarist Russia took advantage of the Opium War, of the Taiping Rebellion, and took away easily more than 1 million square kilometers to the
China.
north, around the north, the east, and in the Baikal, the Ili region in the west. And then they were coming down to build the South Manchurian Railway. And they were pressing towards the Liaotong Peninsula, to the Bohai Gulf. And for the Japanese, they've always described Korea as a dagger pointing at them. So not surprisingly, the Korean Peninsula became an important area of contention. Korea, of course, under the last dynasty, the Li, had bowed to China as a tributary state. They were a very conservative country because when the Ming fell, they quickly switched allegiance to the Qing. And so the Li dynasty reigned for half a millennium. And that created an exceptionally conservative Confucianist culture. Then the Russians moving down, and everybody could see that the Qing was in decline. The Japanese decided that they too had to move. But their move was very different from that of the Western powers because they were part of the region. They had received enormous influence from China. Much of the high culture came from from China.
China.
Even the way they describe the emperor as
Mm.
Tian Huang, Tenno, changing it from Mikado, the old name, was because of China during the Tang Dynasty. And it's not much written about, but they studied the Qing, how the Manchus, who were much smaller in numbers than they themselves, could in the end create the biggest empire China ever had. So they studied Kangxi in great detail. And when they moved into China, I think the ambition was eventually to establish a new dynasty. Yeah. But of course, the Americans prevented it. And even within China itself,
there was resistance.
They were bogged down. They lost large number of soldiers. Much of their losses were incurred in China, not in the Pacific. So it's a long story.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's so many forces and it's very complex. And you're right that the Chinese are just beginning to try to understand what went wrong with the Qing dynasty. But you know, as the Chinese look back on that century, and they try, you know, from time to time I see in Chinese speeches, they refer to, you know, like even Xi Jinping has said, you know, the return of Hong Kong marked the end of 100 years of shame. So in this, what Xi Jinping calls 100 years of shame, what are the events that the Chinese look back, they see as among the most painful events in that century? What really hurt them the most?
Well, the Opium War is not transmitted through mother's milk.
Yeah.
It was certainly transmitted through my mother to me.
She told you about the Opium War?
Oh, I think all Chinese know about the Opium War. And it was a period of national humiliation. But what was particularly galling was what happened in Versailles. Because China had sent, I think, 150,000 Chinese citizens to help the Europeans, the Allied powers, in the effort against Germany, with the promise that once the war ended and Germany was defeated, German possessions in China will revert back to China. So at Versailles, the Japanese said, no, we want those territories. And they agreed. So China was badly dealt. And Walter Woon reminded us that at Versailles, the Japanese asked for a clause affirming racial equality. The Americans opposed it. And why did they oppose it? Because racial superiority was an important justification for many of the things that they did in the entire world. So when that happened, it accelerated, deepened a movement which had already started in the last days of the Qing, which is Chinese rejuvenation. And it gave a strong impetus to the new cultural movement, which started before that, and in the end created the Communist Party, the May 4th movement.
What about the sacking of the Summer Palace in 1860? How was that? What kind of impact did that have on the Chinese?
Oh, sacking of the Summer Palace is part of the Opium War, because even after the first Opium War and and Hong Kong being ceded to the British, China still put roadblocks. They could see how opium was destroying their own people. But the British and the others were pushing for China to allow opium in freely. And after one action against the merchants, I cannot remember which British merchant it was, I think it was Sassoon, appealed to Palmerston, the British Prime Minister, who said, we will teach the Chinese a lesson they will never forget.
And they haven't forgotten.
And the sacking of the Summer Palace was
brutal, right?
No, it was a demonstration. Don't ever do it again and prevent us from selling opium. So it is in connection with the opium humiliation that the Summer Palace is now viewed.
Well, this brings me to the question, as you know, this course is about US-China relations. And the interesting question is how do Chinese historians view the role of the US in this century, because until the Boxer Rebellion in 1899 to 1901, I think the American troops didn't fight in China before that. And in fact, the US, but at the same time, US insisted on most favored nation treatment and joined the settlements in Shanghai after they were established. But the US also donated some of the reparations received from the Boxer Rebellion to funding scholars in China to be educated by American universities. Also, I think this also led to the founding of the Tsinghua University, if I remember correctly. So how did
many hospitals and education establishments were established by the Americans.
How did the Chinese view the American role in this century of humiliation?
Well, Japan did not. I'm sorry. The U.S. did not see itself as a European colonial imperialistic power. It saw itself as, in terms of its manifest destiny, as a superior power which had a civilizing mission. So, of course, when the European powers took advantages for themselves, they demanded their share. And don't forget, in 1854, Commodore Perry forced open Japan. They would have done the same to China. But since the Europeans had already opened all the gates, there was no need for them to move.
So, in a sense, they were free riders.
They were free riders. That's how MFN, the term, became in popular use.
Yes.
That there's no need for us to fight the same battles to get the same advantages.
Yes.
You just agree to give it to all the rest of us. Most favored nation, which is a strange term, not easily self-explanatory. But that's when it gained currency, China. Then they saw the powers in contention. And Theodore Roosevelt received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906.
Yes.
And I always remember in the ante room, before we entered the Oval Office, out there, the certificate with the medal of the Nobel Prize being given to Theodore Roosevelt.
Yes.
It was the settlement between Russia and Japan. Russia and Japan fought a very bloody war.
Yes.
Russian fleet was sunk in 1905.
That's right.
Which led in the end to the Bolshevik Revolution. And on Liaotong Peninsula, so many graves to Russians and Japanese who fought there. The Americans decided better to have peace and a balance. It was not in American interest to have the Tsar come down Manchuria into Korea. It was not in the interest of the US to have the Japanese moving deeply into China either. So it was in the interest to have a balance. But that balance did not last very long. Because when the Japanese moved into mainland China, then it was the Americans who forced the Japanese into the Second World War by the oil embargo.
Anyway, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mao Zedong sort of anticipated it in one of his early writings, is that time will come when China and America will fight Japan. He said in one of his, and I cited in one of my lessons, But so overall, before closing, if you just had to sort of summarize the attitudes of China towards Americans at the early part of this century, how would you characterize it? Early part of the 20th century.
So the Americans were the least predatory of the Western powers. And because they had a guilty conscience and donated some of the indemnities back to establish educational and health institutions, the Chinese have a different view of them. So till today, St. John's University, for example, is spoke of in warm terms. I think it's been absorbed in the Futan or Jiao Tong, I can't remember now. And you had a group of Americans like Henry Luce. Many of them were associated with missionary families. They had good intentions for China. They want China to be Christianized, to be like America. And when Japan invaded China in 1937, before First World War, the Americans helped China. So they had the Flying Tigers, you had the supply lines being opened, all kinds of things being done to help China fight Japan. And if you go to Chongqing today or to Kunming, many of the American establishments during that period are preserved as museums in order that that period not be forgotten. So Mao Zedong had a very tentative view of the Americans. He had a bad experience with, I think, Ambassador Patrick Hurley. He wrote a piece about farewell Ambassador Hurley or something, which is quite famous. Then they succeeded in 49. And the Americans would have allowed China to capture Taiwan. But then the Korean War supervened, which was really something instigated by Stalin.
So this actually is a good moment to pause, because we are now going to proceed to the Korean War in week 2 of this course. I want to thank you very much for your reflections. They've added a lot for the students who've been studying this period. And I look forward to our next conversation when we discuss what happened between China and the US in the second half of the 20th century. Thank you very much, George.
My pleasure.